So I just feel like people are looking for these kind of more immersive experiences with film and entertainment now, and this just feels like an alternative way of doing that by giving agency to the audience.
Welcome back to Sunday Morning Juice. My name is Elisa. If you've never met me, my name is Elisa, and I'm here with Paul. Very nice to meet you.
Likewise, Elisa, how are you doing?
Doing well, honestly. It's like we're having a really intense heat wave right now in New York.
I've
So,
heard. Yeah, I spoke to
yeah.
someone earlier about that. I mean, we're like kind of a heat wave here in London, but it's nothing. I've been to New York in the summer. It's nothing compared to what you guys are going through.
Yeah, and it's probably worse than what you experienced. No, I'm kidding. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about your film, The Run. The
Absolutely.
Run just had its world premiere at the Raindance Film Festival. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes. How'd that go?
It went amazing. It was it's always because it's obviously it's interactive, so there's always a little bit of apprehension before any time I'm screening something for the first time because there's a extra kind of tech element involved. But it all played really smoothly, and the audience were really involved. They were really loud. They were really animated. They really got stuck into it. So yeah, it couldn't have gone better.
Nice. Okay, so are you like asking the crowd, like, are we picking A or B?
Pretty much, yeah. So what we do is we give them glow sticks when they come in, and then anytime there's a choice that appears at the bottom of the screen, they use the glow sticks to vote for which option they prefer, and then obviously they use their voice as well. So it's you get a real kind of lively interaction amongst the audience when they're making those decisions. That sort of like really gets them involved in the story. So yeah, they use the glow sticks to vote. Whichever's the most popular one is what gets chosen. So they're kind of building the story together.
That is so cool. Oh my goodness. So, for those who have not seen The Run is about a fitness influencer who's gone on a run in the mountains in North Italy and broadcasts her daily run to 5 million of her followers on live stream. However, she's unaware that a group of men is closely watching her and trying to kill her. A local farmer is her only hope of survival, and the viewers must determine her outcome, which is how it becomes interactive. What inspired you to tell this story?
Well, I've always, it's such an interesting space to be in because, when you're making, it's sort of like there's so few interactive films that have been done. So, being in this space, I'm really interested in exploring different genres, seeing what genres work. And also because you're borrowing stuff from video game storytelling. So you're also kind of seeing, you're using the genres that work well there in terms of creating high stakes situations and stuff. And survival horror was always a subgenre that I really wanted to explore. And I'm into running myself. I'm into that, and so and I wanted to create something that was like totally always kinetic and always moving. So it kind of felt like a good meeting in terms of doing something that was based around a run that turned deadly. A run that becomes the run for your life was always sort of the original concept that I had. And then so I had the script, and then I met the producers, Bennicus Entertainment, Seth and Sarah from there, who I'd met at a film festival before, and RNF Productions are the production companies that believed in this project, and they wanted to take it out to Italy. So I got the script, and I had the script. I adapted it to the mountains of northern Italy. Went on location scouts there. So it's kind of just something that grew stage by stage from kind of a genre to an initial concept to writing the script and finding the right story to localizing it to Italy. It was just various stages of development that kind of got it to where it ended up being.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. And so, since it's interactive, you kind of have to film both choices, right?
Yeah,
All the
absolutely. So
choices.
yeah, you have to film a little bit of extra content. So overall, there's like a pool of 3.5 hours of like total potential content you can see. But one playthrough when you make the choices will be like 75 to 85 minutes runtime. So, there's you can't see anywhere near the whole thing on one play. It's you want the audience to go see there's 20 different ways the character can die. So, for horror fans who are into that, they might want to go back and see how many play it one time through not trying to die, and then play it one time through trying to find all the different deaths that you can get. So yeah, there's loads of different storytelling devices that it's really empowering as a filmmaker because you're taking some storytelling devices that don't exist within traditional film that are from the gaming storytelling playbook, and yeah, just being able to meld those together to create a cinematic story is super exciting.
Right. So why is it important for you to have like the audience input?
I just think I think now in terms of storytelling, it's just a cool new way of telling stories. I think audiences, especially in the cinema, some people are looking for something more experiential, and something where they can be involved in the story more. I mean, here in the UK, we have this company called Secret Cinema who do these kind of immersive experiences. There's an experience where you're given the food that is on the screen, so you can be watch as you watch a film. Whatever food happens on screen, you're brought out the food that's there. So like you're watching
Oh,
Pulp
yeah.
Fiction, and they'll bring up. So I just feel like people are looking for these kind of more immersive experiences with film and entertainment now, and this just feels like an alternative way of doing that by giving agency to the audience, which I think it heightens their investment, and just makes them feel like it's a different form of storytelling that they have a lot more control over, and can have a bit more of an interaction amongst each other rather than just sort of leaning back and watching a traditional film and letting it all kind of pour over them.
I guess you're a gamer too, right?
Yes, yeah, casual gamer for sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, nice. I would like to know what are the best and trickiest parts of creating interactive films because you have made quite a few now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very much like, I wouldn't say that there's like a big macro thing that's different because there's a lot of similarities. You shoot things the same. Obviously, the quantity of things you need to shoot, of content you need to shoot, is higher. So that is one of the trickiest things, and it means that you probably have to make sacrifices as a filmmaker. Whereas because you just don't have the same amount of time to shoot every scene as you would do in a linear film. So it means you kind of have to compromise. If I was shooting this as a linear film, I would have more time to shoot scenes. I would be able to get more coverage, add a bit more texture in terms of like the coverage I got, with certain more angles, close ups, slow motion, those kinds of things. You have less time to get those kinds of things, but so you need to be really focused on making sure that you're because what you do have that traditional films don't have is all of the interactive elements, and that is your tool where to replace certain things that you don't have the resources to do in terms of filmmaking. So I think understanding where to compromise and where to really hone in on what you really need is an essential skill that you kind of learn the more you do. And then obviously small things like continuity, like little things like wounds is such a massive thing, because if you've got this branching narrative and you have a character who gets cut in the face, but it only happens in certain choices and realities, you got to make sure that like, if those branches come back together, you may need to shoot the same scene twice, one with a cut and one without a cut, because they got a cut on one reality but they didn't get a cut in another one. So you don't want to get yourself in those kinds of situations very often, unless you're really well planned out for it. So just watching out for those things at a script writing stage is that though. Yeah, so it's small things in terms of that lead to the logistics of actually shooting. So yeah, that you learn along the way rather than sort of anything too overarching.
Okay. Do you play with like CGI if something like that were to happen where like, oh, maybe you forgot like a cut or something? Do you integrate that ever?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's the same thing. It's another can of worms that you want to try and avoid. But yeah, sometimes I've if I've needed two versions of the same scene because a prop is there or was moved, and think we would add that prop in there, and just cut. We duplicate the edit of the scene and then have one version with the prop and one version without the prop if the character's taken it or whatever. So absolutely, we have done it like on very very rare special occasions, but yeah, it's again something we'd much rather avoid doing.
Right. That makes sense. You allow your audience to truly integrate themselves into your world that you've built. What is the most important part of world building to you as a filmmaker?
Oh, that's such a good question. Um, I think it's an interesting one because having gone into interactive again, I think it's within. I think because the fundamental root of what makes a good interactive story is the same as what makes a linear story. When you're reading kind of the, like Story by Robert McKee, like the old school screenwriting books, that the fundamental premise of what makes a good story is the same, whether it's a a linear story or an interactive. And that's that your protagonist always has to be making choices, high stakes choices that will affect who they are and affect the trajectory of the story. And the difference is, in a linear film, you're just seeing that play out as the screenwriter and the actors and performers and the filmmakers have decided for it to go, and the repercussions of their decisions are just as is written on the page. Whereas as an interactive filmmaker, you want to give the audience those choices to be made, and that when they're making those choices, you want them to feel that I'm about to make a choice that is going to drastically affect the direction of the story, the direction of the character, test them morally, test them ethically. So I think that's a hugely important part of world building and storytelling, is that regardless of whether it's an interactive or a normal film, that your protagonist and your character is always making choices that is changing the status quo at regular intervals, because that's how a story grows, and that's how the world expands, and that's how your character's experience and arc and trajectory is constantly changing. So yeah, choice and making sure that there are consequences and repercussions that echo through your entire story and story world that you're building, for me, is a massive key.
Right. Oh my God. So that makes me now I'm curious about like the character arc because that probably does shift a
Mm.
little bit. Is that all within the script? Is there stuff whenever you get on set, you're like, maybe this is a better decision? Or
Yeah,
both?
absolutely. It's definitely within the script for sure. Like when with interactive, one of the liberating things and limiting things, but I find it kind of more liberating, is that you really want to be locked in the script and not start shooting until you're really happy, because everything is so intertwined if it's well constructed. Because a lot of decisions you may make, after 10, a decision you may make after 10 minutes, you may not see the true consequences or repercussions of that until 50 minutes into the story.
Mhm.
So you've got decisions that you're making at different points that will then have a knock-on effect to certain other things happening throughout the story. You may pick up an item, that doesn't become useful to you, like a weapon or something, until later on in the story, and then you realize, oh, it's a good thing I picked that up. Oh, I shit. Oh, sorry, I nearly swore.
Okay, you
But
can.
oh no, I yeah. Oh shit, I should have picked up that knife there, or I should have, done that. So if you to actually, so I'm really trying to avoid getting on set and being like, oh, let's just add a decision here or change this decision, because you just don't know what the ripple effect of changing something may have to breaking the logic of this kind of matrix that you've constructed. So which makes it a lot, it streamlines the process in post, because when you're making a linear film, you have a lot more fluidity with, you can change the order of the storytelling, you can change the order of the scenes, you can move things around, which can kind of lead to choice paralysis. But with interactive, you're kind of like, nope, this is the structure, this is important. So that's kind of I'm quite rigid with, in terms of that, in terms of changing things after each process is very much its own thing, rather than sort of, there's not much fluidity between all of them. It's like, yeah, we're only shooting the script until once we're happy with the script, we are going out and executing the scenes as they're written on the page, and then we're going to edit the scenes as they are on the page, and then fit them into the to the game engine, kind of thing.
Okay. So I'm thinking in terms of like timeline. I'm like, so you're looking at basically every outcome from the beginning, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of intense.
Yeah. You get used to it. You get used to it.
True.
It's a different. Yeah, it takes it. I was learning as I went, but it's just, I'm passionate about that form of storytelling as well. I've made, when I was making linear films before, I was always interested in branching narratives and alternate timelines and that kind of thing. So it was kind of just an extension of something I was already playing around with in scripts. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
At what point, do you remember at what point you decided to go in this direction? Because I know that you've done a little bit of work before. Like I know about your work with the White Chamber and stuff like
Oh,
that.
nice.
So when did you decide to make the shift from linear to interactive?
It was really just an opportunity that came my way in 2019. After White Chamber, it played quite a few film festivals around the world and did quite well. So it kind of put me on the map for a few other producers who reached out and said, look, we like what you did with White Chamber. We've got some projects. And this a producer based out in Wales, here in the UK, called John Giwamu, who I went on to work with quite a lot on interactives, reached out and he had this project called The Complex, which he said we'd be interested in you pitching for. And, Bandersnatch, the Black Mirror episode, which was interactive, had just come out. And, I'd always been interested in this kind of storytelling and gaming and stuff. So I was kind of like, yeah, why not? I mean, I've never done anything like this before, but I'm up for giving it a go. And it was really exciting because I just got the opportunity in 2019 just to kind of start writing and working in a field where there wasn't much precedent set. So it's not like writing a script where you've got 100 years of literature and video essays and guides of how to write effective things and stuff like that. You can kind of almost write your own language in terms of the language is still being written of interactive storytelling, which is really exciting. So that was I got into that, and The Complex did well, and then I just kind of kept going from project to project. And as an indie filmmaker, obviously thinking strategically, you want to know where your next paycheck's coming from as well. So
Right.
it was just I found myself in this niche that I happen to love, and it just kind of one project led to another. So I was like, yeah, why not stay here? But I'll happily jump back to make linear films if that's the opportunity that comes my way next. But I'm very happy in the interactive space at the moment.
Good. That's great. Your dad has been in the industry for decades now.
Mhm.
Have you always known that you wanted to be in the industry too?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, growing up, my dad was a cinema operator actually. So growing up, I was in the cinema a lot, and then eventually he also got into independent film production. So when I was growing up, I spent a lot of time on his film sets, just seeing what every part of the industry was in front of the camera, behind the camera, crew, pre-production, post-production, marketing. I was able to kind of shadow him and just see every single facet of the industry. And yeah, that meant that I was like, yeah, I really want to be part of this. And then I went to uni, did film studies there, and as soon as I finished uni, I was like, yeah, I want to work in the film industry. And I was still kind of working out what exactly I wanted to do, but eventually it kind of landed on writing, directing, and yeah, that was kind of the journey in getting here.
Oh my God, that's amazing. It's good that you kind of had like you got to see
Yeah.
so much, and that's really important. I feel like people don't really know what goes into making movies. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of work. I mean, maybe they're starting to understand now, but you saw
Mm.
all of that and you still were like, I'm on board.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot more people are seeing it now, especially even like because people are making their own content, right, on YouTube and TikTok, and they're like, oh, I need to light myself. Oh, I need to edit this. Oh, I need to put music on it. Oh, I may need to mic myself up and then do a sound mix on it. So I think you're totally right, Lisa. Like I think people are wising up to how much actually goes into filmmaking, even if they're doing it on a smaller scale or creating their own content. All of those different departments are getting activated. So yeah, I think there's a lot more awareness now, which is great.
How do you get over the fear of something you've created being so intently judged?
Mm. Just that's such a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question before. Um,
It's serious. I mean, you know.
yeah, just experience. Like at this point, I've been lucky that I've been, making, directing films for the last 9 years now, and at this point, I just don't really care if people don't like it anymore. But that's not just that's purely come from having done it for a while. Like early on, and I mean not even early on, up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago, like I'd be really like, I'd be scared to look at reviews or like scared to, for people to say, oh, they didn't like something. And then I would kind of, you would blame yourself. And I think it's only just come from the fact that recently I'm like, yeah, I have been working for the last 9 years, and and people do keep trusting me with making films. So, whether it's my own company or other companies or who people I freelance for. So I'm like, I must be pretty good. And like, clearly some people like what I'm doing. So like, and I like what I'm doing. I'm blessed that I can look back at the work that I've done, and I'm like, yeah, I know why I made that. I know why I think it was good when I made it, and I still think it's good for various reasons. And then also having the self awareness to be like, I know where I could have done better, and I know where I've improved on, and I know what people might not like, and I know what people. So I kind of just think it's one of those things that there's no real mindset shift that you can do beyond just doing it long enough. And I think that's the thing with you. You hear all the older filmmakers who have been in the game a lot, like they just don't care if people don't like it anymore,
Mhm.
because they know they're never going to be able to please anybody. So now I can read a negative review and be like, cool, they didn't get what I was going for, whatever. Thanks for thanks for giving me your time and watching it. But yeah, it doesn't really affect me as much as it used to. But it's purely through time and experience. So yeah, that's what I would say. Just get out there and make stuff, and eventually, you'll believe in yourself enough to not really give a shit when people scrutinize you. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's a long-winded answer, but it's because
No.
I never had that question before, so I wanted to. Yeah, sorry.
No, we got all the parts. Thank you. Just keep going, you guys. What is the biggest thing your art has taught you so far this year?
That's such a good question. Wow, because I've had two interactive films released this year, so actually there's a lot of that I've learned. I think what it's taught me is like I think what it's taught me is it's equally cool to make things for yourself that are creatively fulfilling, but also to make things that are potentially more mainstream appealing. I think there's a middle ground. I think there's something that's mainstream, and I think there's stuff that can be made for you. And I think no matter where you fall on that spectrum, it's okay, because I think we live in a world now where people want to watch different kinds of content. People are consuming different forms of content so much. There are some people who object to the word content, but I'm using it in the word of in
Yeah.
the sense of like people like it or not, people will watch YouTube videos instead of TV series, but some people watch TV, some people play video games, some people watch anime, some people, and I think just people want there's so much out there that people are open to, and there's an audience for everything. So that's what I kind of don't like that goes on in the film industry, is that people like will like shit on other people's, like be like, oh, it's so mainstream, oh, it's so commercial, oh, it's so art house, oh, it's so. I just think all of it's cool. Like I think that filmmakers shouldn't feel a pressure to that one form is better than the other, because I've kind of made things all along that spectrum, and like I said, I'm proud of all of them, and all of them have found their own audience. So I think definitely making peace with that there's no right answer to making good art. I think that's kind of what I've learned this year.
Okay. That was a good answer.
Yeah, no, again, it's a good question. It's like, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, oh my God, of course. And lastly, what can we look forward to from you for the rest of the year?
Well, yeah. So I think the run, hopefully it's going to screen in a few more a few more film festivals, and then hopefully it's also going to have a release. We're still figuring out what the exact release platforms that will be available on will be, but more news on that soon. And then potentially, I mean, I'm not. It's still very early days. I might be shooting something else this year, but I'm not allowed to say much about that. But it's been a busy year, so I had another interactive film called Hello Stranger released last month. The run is obviously releasing this month, and then hopefully I'll be shooting something and starting post production on it towards the end of the year. So yeah, that's kind of what I've got on the horizon.
And where can people find this? I think the run, maybe not yet, since it's like still in festival.
Yeah. Well, we would hope for, usually with all my interactive stuff, that it becomes available on the gaming platform, Steam primarily, which is the PC gaming, the
Mhm.
go-to stop for PC gaming products, which you can get on PC and Mac. But also we'd be looking at, there's sort of, it's quite a developing space at the moment, the interactive in terms of sort of, streamers and wider distribution. So we're kind of just exploring, having conversations. So hopefully there are a few other places that people can get hold of it but when we announce in the coming months.
Okay. I will be sure to link your website.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I have one more question. I watched a YouTube video you put out earlier. Are you becoming a YouTuber?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, that's kind of yeah, that's definitely. Oh, thank you. That's definitely yeah, at the moment I want to, but I've been a bit busy with getting the run ready for its screening and stuff. But I bought a DJI Osmo, which I've been taking around. I took it to a film festival last month. So I'm gonna edit a video together about my experience there, and it was at the screening. Also took some. I want to do a video about the screening of the run, and hopefully for this potential project I'm doing, I'd love to sort of vlog a bit more and do some YouTube on that, because I think that's a incredible platform that I think filmmakers should. It kind of excites me because it feels like filmmakers can kind of take more control of their own branding, which is really
Mhm.
cool. That if the filmmakers could build their own audience, is something that I've noticed in video games. A lot of independent video game developers do that.
Oh,
They build their own audience so that they within on YouTube, and then that audience goes on the journey with them in making a game, and then when they release the game, hopefully that audience will have been on the journey and trust that game maker and go and buy the game. So it's almost like there's something quite empowering about the potential of that for filmmakers, that they can build their own brand, which they never really could do in the same way that say actors could. So yeah, it's something I definitely want to explore when I have time. But thanks for checking out my one and only video on there at the moment.
you're welcome. I will link it too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Paul, thank you so much for talking with me. This has been great.
Yeah, likewise, Lisa. It's been fantastic, and you've asked me some questions I've never been asked before, so that means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I I have admiration for anyone who creates things. So, I
Yeah,
think I can always find some inspiration there.
absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been
Yeah,
great.
my pleasure.